Part 1 of predicting trades in the 2024 AFL trade period. That's right, I've gone through every AFL club and all their players, who's out of contract, rumours, etc. And in this first part, I'm going to go through quite a few players and predict where they're going to move clubs and why. Before we get into it, make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Comment down below trades I might have missed. They might be in part 2, so check out and keep an eye for that. I've got Elliot Himmelberg first. I predicted him to go to the GWS Giants. Now, obviously, he's playing for Adelaide at the moment. He's a restricted free agent. So, you know, he's restricted. So I'm not sure how that's going to go into him going to GWS. But the brothers, Harry Himmelberg plays there. Why shouldn't Elliot Himmelberg not want to play there? He might want to join up his brother. And to be honest, it just hasn't worked out for him at Adelaide. Unfortunately, there have been periods where people thought he's the heir to Taylor Walker's throne, but that has not transpired for him, and therefore I think it could be a good idea to have a fresh start in a different state out in Greater Western Sydney. I've got Jared Berry moving from Brisbane to the Essendon Football Club. Now, to caveat this, Jared Berry is a restricted free agent. I've done this on the basis that Brisbane sort of exit their premiership window. Obviously, they're heavily in that premiership window at the moment, so I don't know why Jared Berry would want to leave that. But if Brisbane don't perform as well, given that Lachie Neale is getting older, given that, you know, the players like Cameron Zorko are aging a little bit, you could even argue Danaher's aging a little bit, there might be a potential for a slight drop off, and I don't think they have the best list in the comp, maybe not even top 4. So in saying that, if he were to leave, you know, he's a restricted free agent. All these players, their contracts one way or another, whether they're restricted free agent, non-restricted free agent, or non-free agent, sorry, unrestricted free agent, whatever they are, they're all out of contract at the time recording, early Jan. Yeah, they're all going to be out of contract, relatively speaking. Now, I've chosen him to go to Essendon. Why? I mean, I feel like this sort of just screams Tom Cutler going from Brisbane to Essendon. I could see Jared Berry in Essendon colours. Matt Cottrell, he's an unrestricted free agent, so he has free roam to do whatever the fuck he wants. And in saying that, I've got him going to the Dogs. I feel like Carlton are such a strong team now that they probably won't have a place for him. And therefore, I've thought to myself, you know, he'll probably move to the Dogs. If I had to take a punt, he can go anywhere he wants. Will the Dogs want to pick him up? That's a different story. I feel like the Dogs are going to start to regress until they get a new coach, but that's a different debate. My hate for Bevo. But I predicted that. Caleb Marchbank, also from the Carlton Football Club. Now, he's a restricted free agent, not an unrestricted free agent, so a little bit more challenging there. I predicted him to go to the Eagles. Now, once again, he's out of contract in 2024. I feel like the Eagles will be looking not only to pick up, you know, young players because they're rebuilding, but they will need to get experience. Purely because, A, you need experience in a rebuild to guide the young players, nurture the young players, you know, create them and build them as players. You can't just have a bunch of young players in a team. There's no leader. And the other reason they need sort of a bit more experienced players is because they lost Shuey, Nick Nat, and Shannon Hearn in one off season. They might lose Barras and McGovern in, you know, future off seasons, given that there's already been rumours around those two leaving, etc. Although I do think McGovern will stay, but Barras I feel like probably will leave. Caleb Marchbank, it's just not worked out at Carlton. I feel like Eagles might take a punt on him. He won't cost much. He won't be on a big salary at all, and they can probably play around with giving him peanuts. And you can't say no, because I don't think any other club would want Caleb Marchbank. But if you're a Carlton fan, have I misunderstood him? Let me know in the comments. Now, Carlton also have players like David Cunningham and Matt Owie, Sam Durden, who are also out of contract, but I don't think teams would want them. Collingwood is a really big one. They have quite a few players out of contract, and I feel like there is potential for players to leave, given that, generally speaking, when a side's at the top, you know, their team is so strong that even really good players can't break into the squad. I mean, you know, we're looking at a host of players in 2023 that couldn't break into the Collingwood team that are brilliant players, like Finley McRae. Now, Finley McRae is a non-free agent, but he does go out of contract in 2024, according to this. I don't think he's the one who's going to leave, given that Taylor Adams has departed to Sydney. I've got Josh Carmichael leaving, and I've got him going to Richmond. I feel like Richmond are crying out for forwards of any size. Small forwards we need, tall forwards we need, you know, medium forwards we need. We need forwards, for fuck's sake. And this guy is really good. He is a non-free agent, so complications there. But I think just please bring him to Richmond, for fuck's sake. Quite interestingly, Oleg Markov is an unrestricted free agent, according to this. So is he going to leave? I'm not so sure. Will Hoskin-Elliott is one to look out for as well. As a restricted free agent, out of contract, he's done 8 years at Collingwood. Would he want a different opportunity somewhere else? Maybe. I could even see him going to a third state, you know, start at GWS, goes to Victoria. Could he end up in Perth, in, you know, Queensland? So there is a potential for him to maybe leave. Also, a restricted free agent for Collingwood is Jeremy Howe, but I think he'll stay. For the Essendon Football Club, I've got 2 names. The first name I have is Dylan Shield. He's a non-free agent at the end of 2024. I think he's going to go to St Kilda. Now, a couple of reasons. One, he's out of contract, but the second is there've already been rumours about him going to St Kilda in the 2023 off-season. It was heavily debated, and I thought, honestly, like, Essendon surely would want to get rid of him. I mean, it hasn't worked out. Whilst there might be still a little bit of trade value there, can you get rid of him? So I genuinely think that's an opportunity missed by Essendon. St Kilda have a habit of picking up these really dead, hopeless midfielders, you know, Paddy Dow. I just feel like it's just in their history of St Kilda to pick up mids, you know, like never good mids. Brad Crouch is good, but he's kind of a mid. You get what I'm saying? Fucking Jones, mid. Anyway, I've also got Nick Hind. Nick Hind was sort of falling out of favour. It all depends. If he comes back into the squad in 2024 and cements his position, then he'll obviously stay, but he's a non-free agent. And if things keep going like the way it is, and he continues to be out of favour for Brad Scott, then I think he'll end up at the Gold Coast Football Club. Because Damien Hardwick's smart, he'll know Nick Hind has something to offer, and unfortunately, I feel like Nick Hind is just in a system that he's not needed or wanted, and Damien Hardwick, he loves a running defender. You know, Basher Hooley was his main one in Richmond, but we had a host of players, like Nick Vossen could do that role, Dan Rioli later on did that role, and Nick Hind could do that role for Dimmer, and that's why I've predicted it. Sean Darcy has signed a massive contract, but despite the point of this video where I'm trying to only choose uncontracted players, I've still gone for him to go to Geelong on the basis that Fremantle capitulate, which I think they might. I think they'll lose their coach this year. Longmuir's not going to survive, and I think shit is going to hit the fan. I think Fremantle have an opportunity to get rid of Longmuir and bring in Stewie Dew. You know, at the time recording, very early January, it's not happened. By the time I post this, the season might have started, or who knows. But you heard it here first, there is a potential there. I think Stewie Dew will coach a club in 2024. Now, the reason I've gone with Darcy to Geelong is because he's from Victoria, and I've already discussed him going to Geelong, but it just makes sense. Matt Taberner is an unrestricted free agent. So as an unrestricted free agent, he has free room to do what he wants, old Matt Taberner, and I think he's going to go to Melbourne. I think Melbourne just need to keep buying key forward till something works, okay? Honestly, Wiedemann didn't work. Not that they bought him, but he didn't work. Ben Brown didn't work. Shaki hasn't worked. Honestly, I don't think Taberner will work. But, I mean, he won't cost much. I feel like Melbourne are the team that'll want to keep forward. He'll probably wants to leave Perth, come to Victoria, mate, where he belongs, and come play for the Demons. And obviously, Melbourne's a really attractive club. Anyway, next up, Max Holmes, non-free agent of the 2024 season. I've got him going to Collingwood, partially because of all the rumours surrounding him going to Collingwood anyway. That's a pretty simple one there. Rumours, contract, everything lines up. I genuinely am extraordinarily confident that this trade will happen, unless he does a backflip and stays at Geelong. But why wouldn't you want to go to Collingwood right now? And it's the time to leave Geelong because they are riddled with old retiring players, and they stink of a team who might have to do a little bit of a rebuild soon. Moving on to Benjamin King. Benny King, non-free agent. I think he might have signed a deal, actually. I'm not too sure about that. Yeah, I don't think he has actually. Just looked at it, Ben King. But look, I think he's going to go to Essendon on the basis that he wants to join Max King. I think... Essendon? Sorry, St Kilda. What the fuck am I talking about? I think I want to go to St Kilda. I think St Kilda would be a little bit dumb to bring in 2 identical players, if you get what I'm saying, like quite literally identical players, but in a sense that you don't want your 2 key forwards to be the same. You want one to be maybe a bit more versatile, maybe a little bit shorter, more quick, more skillful or something, and you want the other to be the opposite, maybe more tall, a bigger body, better in contested marks, drags other defenders to him. Like, you want different players with different leading patterns. But I mean, it's not the end of the world they get, you know, twins on the team, given that, to be honest, one will always be injured. Unfortunately, that's just in their genetics. But makes sense. Gold Coast could get a lot from him, hopefully, and I think he'll leave. Chad Wingard, he was nearly very close to leaving, given that he was picked up in the redraft or in the rookie draft, whatever it was. But he stayed at Hawthorn, but I still think in 2024 he's going to leave. He's a non-free agent, it says here. I think it goes to the Kangaroos. The reason he goes to the Kangaroos is Clarko might want to link up with him again. Clarko might want some experience. I also think Wingard could go to a team like the Eagles or a team like Richmond, a shit team that might want a bit of experience to help the youth. But I've gone with Kangaroos because the Kangaroos have a habit of picking up washed old players. Adam Tomlinson, I've said here, he's going to go to GWS, back to where he originally came from. It hasn't quite worked out at Melbourne. I mean, in that premiership season, he was so good in that period of time, but the injury, the ACL, didn't win the flag with him, and he's since been out of favour since coming back from that injury. I feel like, you know, players don't usually go back to the old team, but he might do a Jack Gunston. He might do a fucking, I don't know. There's always stories of players going back to their old club later on in their career, and I think he's going to be one of those guys. Lastly, it's not in alphabetical order. I have some more Melbourne players, but I'm just going to go through Cam Zurhaar, purely because at the time recording, there's been some speculation about him not signing a contract for the North Melbourne Football Club. Now, I do think he's going to stay, but he is a restricted free agent at the end of the season, so I guess he does have a little bit of flexibility there. Now, will he leave? Surely not. He had such a big go at Jason Horne-Francis for leaving that he would look a fool, if he were to leave. But to spice things up, let's say he's going to leave. Where would he go? I actually haven't written down here where Cam Zurhaar would go, so I'm going to have to make it up this one. I feel like he would want some success. He wouldn't go to Port Adelaide because Jason Horne-Francis is there, that's for sure. I could see Cam Zurhaar going to Adelaide, okay? You know, spice things up. Adelaide versus Port Adelaide, Zurhaar versus Jason Horne-Francis. Spice things up, cook up a spicy meal right there. Anyway, I've got quite a few more, which I am gonna save for part 2 of this video. So stay tuned for that. Let me know in the comments if any of these trades will happen. Am I, you know, absolutely flipping out? What am I even talking about? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll be seeing you in another video.